you someone that loved playing competitive sports growing up? Maybe you were a star basketball player on your high school team, or maybe you won an intramural championship in soccer. Then you get out of school, you get busy with work, kids, marriage, and you give up. I hear this all too many times with friends and family members who are like, oh, I'd love to play basketball or football again, but just scared to get hurt. It's a very valid concern, especially if you've taken significant time off. And I see one of two things. I see either people completely give up on that, or they decide after not playing for 3 years, they're going to go out and sign up for a basketball league twice a week, and they end up rupturing a patella tendon or pulling a muscle, and they just stay hurt. Trust me, I've been there. I hung up the kicks 10 years ago after rupturing my patella tendon, and I thought I would never play basketball again. And now fast forward 10 years, I'm 36 years old, and I feel like I'm in the best athletic shape that I've ever been in. Now, this isn't just my peak jump height or sprinting speed. I'm sure back in my 20s or teens, I might have had a higher overall max vertical jump. But what it really comes down to is the consistency at which I am athletic. I used to have really bad patella tendonitis. I would have one day where I could easily dunk, and then the next I was barely touching the rim. And all of this really changed for me after my injury as I got a lot smarter about my training, understanding, avoiding acute load spikes, as well as just managing my load overall in terms of how much I was playing, how much I was lifting, and the way in which I was lifting. And frankly, this is one of the biggest reasons I started this YouTube channel, was to help people understand that you can work on both aesthetics and performance. You don't have to be committed 5 days a week to do a performance-based program. You can sprinkle it in throughout the week. And I can give you a few reasons why you should be doing this. Number one, as we age into our 30s and 40s, our ability to explode decreases significantly, especially when you don't train it at all. If you don't use it, you lose it. Things like strength and power will hang around a little bit longer, but your pure explosiveness plyometric ability will decrease over time. So you want to do things to try to slow that process down. Number two, as you age, you hear about people all the time falling, breaking a hip, and dying of pneumonia. Well, how do you avoid that? You avoid that by training things like deceleration, stopping on a dime, training some proprioception and balance-based activities, working on moving things fast so that your brain and central nervous system doesn't slow down. So when you do go to fall, you can quickly react. And you don't have to worry about blowing out a tendon because you move fast for the first time in 20 years. And lastly, if you want to do things like play your favorite sport that brought you a lot of joy, or even participate with your kids out in your yard and not have to feel like you're going to get hurt. These are all really important reasons, and I think very valid reasons why you should incorporate a little bit of performance-based training into your program each week. And I'm here to show you a few ways that you can easily do this without feeling overwhelmed or feeling like you're fully committing to a performance-based training protocol. One of the first things you can do is start incorporating things like skips, jump ropes, even light jogging, depending on where you're at in your fitness level. If you haven't done a single jump or hop in years, then start really small. Start with a light jog. Start with jumping jacks. Start with anything that's going to help increase your impacts just a little bit over time. Second thing you can do is replace your traditional sit-ups, crunches with movements that involve more rotation. Things like cable rotations. And as you get comfortable with this, then you can make them more explosive. You can also add in things that challenge your stability, and this is also going to incorporate a little bit of your proprioception and balance. So something like a traditional plank, maybe add an aerobics ball, and you can just sit in a plank, and as you progress, you can do things like stir pots, extend out, and all of these things are going to help translate to more stability and proprioception. And lastly, I'll show you how I would incorporate more of your max intent plyometrics, things like sprints or box jumps. Typically what I'll do is on a day where I'm just doing something like a squat, as I'm doing my warm-up sets, before I get into my working, I'll do my warm-up sets, and then as part of the warm-up, I'll include something like a squat jump or a box jump. You can start small and work your way up. So maybe just do 2 sets your first time, or even 1, just to get yourself going. But But this is gonna help with two things. This is gonna get your max intent plyo in, as well it's actually gonna help fire up your CNS, which is gonna help your squat later on in your workout. So all this shouldn't take any longer than your current workouts, is you're basically just replacing some of your previous exercises with these new ones. Like I said, to recap, you're gonna start your warm-up off with some sort of low-level plyometric, things like jumping jacks, skips, or hops. Then you're gonna replace your old crunches and sit-ups with things like rotational core movement. And as you progress those, you're gonna wanna start being more explosive. And you wanna add in the stability component, which is gonna help with the proprioception and stability. And then lastly, before you do your big gross motor movements, things like squats, deadlifts, or even bench, add in a few sets of explosive box jumps. And like I said, all of these things are gonna serve two purposes. You're gonna feel better for your current workout, so you're gonna get more bang for your buck on that. And then lastly, you're gonna get those dividends, like I spoke about earlier, that are gonna translate into real life and help keep you healthy in the long run.